So is that what's next? A subpoena for Donald Trump's personal lawyer? Well, joining us now is Congressman Eric Swalwell, Democrat of California and a member of the House Intelligence Committee. All right, Congressman Swalwell, first of all, thank you for being with us tonight. Good to talk to you.
Of course. Good evening, Joy.
So let's answer that last question. Is the next step in this process for the House Intelligence Committee to subpoena Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen?
Well, working with Republicans, we have identified a witness list and documents that we want to see and people who we want to hear from. And the first step is to send them an invitation to come speak to us and to do so voluntarily. I believe that if you care about our country and you care about the future, there should be no reason not to cooperate with a committee trying to understand the attack that occurred in the last election. If individuals don't want to come in, then the other option we have is to subpoena them if we can agree on that. And so I hope that anyone who has received an invitation to come before us does so willingly because they care about our country.
And Congressman, you're a former prosecutor, I do believe. And, you know, the question that we sort of started the show off with is the question of whether or not the congressional committees wind up working at cross purposes with Robert Mueller, with Mr. Mueller's investigation, which is obviously in sort of the criminal realm. Is it possible that your committee, that the committee that you serve on, could wind up sort of bollocksing the investigation if you subpoena people, they come out and testify, and then the information that they say publicly harms the investigation? Are you worried about that?
We certainly don't want to do that, Joy. And our goal is different than the goal of a criminal probe. We want to tell the American people what happened with Russia's interference, identify any persons in the United States who may have worked with Russia, and close any vulnerabilities we have so it never happens again. Now, I'll just say, as a former prosecutor, with immunity, you have to be very careful in the way that you use it. If there's witness testimony you cannot get any other way, then that's the only time you should ever consider immunity. And you still have to corroborate it because jurors will look at immunity agreements very skeptically if they don't have other information that can assist them. So at this point, I think we just want to have witnesses come forward without any conditions to tell us what happened and help us tell the American people what vulnerabilities were out there and what we can do to make sure we're never in a mess like this again.
Well, just speaking as a layperson, I mean, isn't a grant of immunity typically married to a commitment by the person getting immunized to give up someone else, to actually incriminate somebody other than themselves or at a higher level than themselves?
In the criminal sense, before immunity is given, a proffer takes place. That means that the person would tell us what they have to offer, and then we would consider whether we want to receive that information and give them immunity. That's usually in the criminal setting. Again, I don't want to speak for our ranking member, Adam Schiff, or our chair, Mike Conaway. You know, that's a decision that they will have to make. So far, since Chair Conaway has taken over, we've made a lot more progress, and, you know, hopefully witnesses, as I said, come in to cooperate, not to obstruct.
And when you say made a lot more progress, that sort of implies good old Devin Nunes, your former chairman, maybe made less progress under him. I want to ask what you make of some comments that the Los Angeles Times reported that he made at a fundraiser, and these are the comments supposedly made shortly after he was ousted as chairman of the House Select Intelligence Committee. Devin Nunes saying the Democrats don't want an investigation on Russia. They want an independent commission. Why do they want an independent commission? Because they want to continue the narrative that Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump are best friends, and that that's the reason he won, because Hillary Clinton would have never lost on their own. It has to be someone's fault. He goes on to say they tried to destroy the investigation. They've never been serious about it, essentially blaming the Democrats on the committee for just trying to use this investigation to hurt Donald Trump and excuse Hillary Clinton. What do you make of that?
Joy, he's right that we want an independent commission. Elijah Cummings and I wrote legislation, and 2 Republicans have joined us to call. He's wrong that we see this as anything political. If Hillary Clinton were elected president, I would still be calling, I know my Democratic colleagues would be calling, to understand what happened with Russia's interference campaign. And, you know, when we saw President Macron in France stand next to Vladimir Putin yesterday and call out Russian propaganda outlets for what they did in his election, that's what it looks like when somebody puts their country ahead of politics. And that's what I hope my Republican colleagues will do as we go forward.
And can we, just to go back to the very top of this discussion, could you see your committee granting immunity to allow Oleg Deripaska, a national of Russia, to testify publicly before your committee? Could you see that happening?
You know, Joy, I'll leave that to our chair and our ranking member. Of course, we'll have to decide that if they bring it before us. But again, my hope is that witnesses come forward voluntarily, especially U.S. witnesses. And of course, he's a foreign national, and so there's other complications there. But anyone in the United States, if they were a part of this or had something, if they witnessed something, we want to hear from them, and they shouldn't come forward, I believe, with any conditions, because this is really about protecting our democracy.
All right, Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, member of the House Intelligence Committee. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you.